Hello, my name is Mateta, and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 10, where we, as always, will have a lot of things to go through. Not only am I going to tell you my plans for Game Week 10 at the end of the video, I'm also going to go through my Game Week 9 score to keep you posted on how it's gone so far this season. Also going to look through the Game Week 9 free hit draft that I presented to you guys in last week's team selection video, and I'm also going to make another free hit draft for Game Week 10, because that's what I do on this channel. I make a free hit draft for every single game week, and I also look at the combined scores that I have had accumulated across the season in my free hit selections. So I'm going to show you that, and then finally I'm going to talk about Game Week 10 and the plans for that game week, and a little bit beyond that as well, with my chip remaining as a wildcard. Game Week 9. Got 54 points, another green arrow, my 8th in a row so far. Only had green arrows this season, 40k overall, wildcard still in hand. Really happy with the season. I wasn't quite as happy with my transfer this game week, Reinders to Enzo. Of course, I gained 1 point at least from that, because Reinders is someone that I would like to sell, and that's part of the reason why I sold him, because I wanted to get rid of him. But I also wanted Enzo because I thought the Sunderland game would be a nice entry point, but it wasn't. He only got 2 points. Sunderland lost to Chelsea. They are just a better team than I have expected so far this season, and Chelsea couldn't really take advantage, and Enzo can really take advantage of playing without Palmer and being the penalty taker in that game. I thought he could get a lot of points in that match, but he got 2 points in his first game. That is the same thing that happened when I brought in Mbeumo in Game Week 6. He also got 2 points in his first game against Brentford, which was another game that I thought was going to be good for him. But after that, Mbeumo turned in like several good scores in a row. 6 points in Game Week 7, followed by 9 points against Liverpool, and then now 15 points in this game week. So maybe the same thing can happen for Enzo Fernandez. He has Wolves and Burnley in Game Week 11 and 12, so I think that is where most of my points will come from. And then after that, I can easily just sell him for another good midfielder from Game Week 13 or 14 onwards. Most likely Saka in Game Week 14 is what I'm looking at to do that switch from Gyökeres to Saka, but now I'm getting a bit ahead of myself in terms of my plans. When it comes to my Game Week 9 score, I had 2 clean sheets from Arsenal, 1 clean sheet from Bournemouth. That is usually what, or that is mostly what helped me this game week. I also had an assist from Bowen in the first game, where West Ham looked so bad for most of that game, but finally at the end, Bowen got the assist and also removed the clean sheet for Leeds players, which also helped me overall. And that in the end, I think, gained me that green arrow, because it was like around a 20k rank that I was at before the final game, which was between Spurs and Everton, or Everton against Spurs at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. And there, Mickey van de Ven got that massive 23-point score, and that dropped my rank massively. Not as much as most other people, because I think closer to the top, less people have van de Ven. So I actually didn't drop that much from that performance, but I dropped enough to go down to 40k, despite rather than 20k, which I was at originally. But still a green arrow, still something that I'm really happy with. I want to keep that streak continuing, or want to keep that streak going at least. And I'm hoping to do that in Game Week 10 as well, but that is looking like a bit of a more tricky game week potentially, which we'll get to pretty soon. But yeah, 54 points on the Game Week 9 score, pretty happy with that, all things considered. Not the best score, but it is a good game week to have, or it is not the bad game week to have a good game week, I guess, whatever that saying is, just the opposite, because a lot of people struggled this game week, and I actually came out of it pretty well compared to most other players or managers, I think, in FPL, unless you had Van de Ven, of course, where you got 23 points from a guy playing away to Everton. So congrats for that. But anyways, let's move on to the free hit draft that I had for Game Week 9 that I presented you guys last week. I got 53 points on this, actually, so I got less points again than I did on my Game Week 9 score. And that has been the theme of this season, where my free hit selections have been worse than my own team pretty much every single time, because I also tend to try to target the newly promoted teams and hoping to get some points. That has been the case for a lot of these game weeks, but it just turns out that the newly promoted teams are better than expected, and that was the case this time around as well, with 2 Chelsea players, Cucurella and Enzo, both blanking. I also had Mbeumo in this team, also had Gabriel in this team, and Senesi. Those guys were in my original team as well, but I did get the benefit of Kruby Jr. up front with 6 points. That helped me, and also I was close to getting some points with Voltemata as well, because he had a really big chance that he missed early in the game for Newcastle. That could have really changed things for him and the free hit score. But anyways, also on the bench, I had Mateta with 8 points. I did say that Wolves could have some nice points against Burnley, and they did. I had Mateta on the bench, and also I had a best alternative forward as John Larson. He also got a goal, 6 points from penalty. Had Fernandes as a best midfield alternative, and he got 4 points. Tell me if you think that is like a positive or a negative. For me, I've done like a sideways thumbs, not thumbs up, not thumbs down, but thumbs sideways, I guess, for Fernandes. 4 points. It is not ideal, but it's not necessarily a blank either. I don't know how you would define it, but yeah, I think it's like somewhere in between. Timber also, another alternative, of course, who I had in my own team, which is part of the reason why I got more points with my own team than with the free hit selection team that I did provide to you guys last week. So yeah, all in all, 53 points, not ideal. 517 points in total for the free hit teams so far this season, which is not that good. It's 1.9 million basically overall, which is far below what I'm currently at 40k. So yeah, sometimes it's good to just be patient and try to go for players that could be good long term, rather than just focusing on the single game week and trying to get a high score in that game week, because it doesn't always work out. And that's what I've been saying a lot with the free hit chip. I think it is a chip that you should use, not just to get like the most possible points in the game week where you use it, but just to use it as a bridge between two game weeks where you have a bad squad for the game week where you're using your free hit. So yeah, that was a bit convoluted, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to say anyways. But yeah, 53 points on the free hit. Not the worst, not the best, especially in this game week where a lot of people struggled. I at least selected Mbuemo with 15 points, and I advised you guys to bring him in if you were on a free hit. So hopefully you did that, and hopefully you somehow managed to pick Van de Ven still on a free hit. That's something that can happen on free hit selections. Like Van de Ven away to Everton was not an ideal pick, like on paper, but actual points, he got 23 points, amazing score for a defender. So yeah, that's why the free hit chip is sometimes misleading, I guess, when it comes to points getting, because some people might have had Van de Ven and free hit it away from that, and they're now doing worse than what they would have done if they hadn't used the chip. So use the chip wisely and don't just use it willy-nilly. I think that's the main takeaway from this, as always. But yeah, if you are using your GW10 free hit chip, then this is the squad that I would select at least, or try to advise you to select. But as you can see from my track record, maybe you shouldn't trust me when it comes to like one game week free hit drafts, which is what free hit drafts are usually. But I'm going to try my best anyways to try to rectify so far my misses in the free hit selections. And yeah, like I've previously been mentioning, I think targeting like the newly promoted teams, especially Leeds and Sunderland, is probably not like the best idea. Let's try to rather target someone like Burnley. They are the lesser promoted teams. They're not as good. And also West Ham are looking pretty bad. So that's part of the reason why I've selected a couple of these players right here. But I'm going to go through the squad from goalkeeper all the way through all the alternatives and all the bench players. In goal, St. Lamans against Nottingham Forest away. I think even Man United could keep a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest, because Sean Dyche is setting up very defensively. And I think that could bode well for Lamans and a potential clean sheet there, especially since I can't select Arsenal goalkeeper because I wouldn't want to. There's much more higher upside with the other outfield players from Arsenal than Raya. So yeah, I'm going with Lamans there instead. Could have gone with Pope, I guess, from Newcastle, but I've gone with a Newcastle defender instead because I think that has more upside again. When it comes to the defenders, Gabriel and Timber, I think they're just like mainstays as long as Arsenal are as good as they are currently. Both of them can score from set pieces as well, and that is going to be good against Burnley, who are not that good at defending set pieces. So I think both Gabriel and Timber are really nice picks for this game week, and I'm pretty happy that I have them in my squad already. Someone that I wish I had in my squad was, or is, Daniel Munoz, but sadly I don't think I can get him for Game Week 10. That would be a bit convoluted to get him now because of a mistake that I did that I'll talk to you about pretty soon in my team selection for Game Week 10. But he is just the best of both worlds. Like, he could either get a clean sheet or an attacking return, or he could potentially get both. Like, if I were to predict a defender to get 20 plus points in a single game week this season, it would be Munoz. It wouldn't be Van de Ven, who got 23 points last time. It would be Munoz, who could score a goal, get an assist, get 3 bonus points, get clean sheet, get potentially even DEFCON he gets sometimes. So he just has such high upside, and he has pretty low floor, or pretty high floor as well as a player. Because yeah, clean sheets can happen, attacking returns can happen. He can get pretty much anything. He is a bit of a cheat code in this game, and I think he's a really good fit for this game week as well against Brentford at home. Malik Chaw for Newcastle against West Ham. I think that is a good game for anyone trying to score from set pieces, and Malik Chaw is pretty good at that. Hasn't scored yet in the Premier League, but I think he has the chance to do that against West Ham, which is a team that is just horrendous on defensive set pieces. In midfield, I go with Saka for Arsenal as my second best, or like my best Arsenal pick, I should say. Probably. I don't know. You can decide whether you think Gabriel or Saka will get the more points. I think Saka has the higher upside at least, because he has the chance to score a lot of the goals that will be in this match. I think it will be like a 3, 4, 5-0 type of game. I think this is where Arsenal will sort of do the same thing as they did against Leeds in Game Week 2, which is looking more and more impressive by the day, by the way. Beating Leeds 5-0 didn't look that impressive in Game Week 2, but considering how good Leeds are as a team, that's actually pretty impressive from Arsenal. And I think they can do sort of similar against Burnley this time, so Saka is in the team. I've gone with Bruno Fernandes rather than Mbeumo in midfield for Man United, despite Fernandes being a bit more expensive, and that's because I think Fernandes is better suited for a game like this, where Nottingham Forest will be sort of setting up defensively, and Man United and Fernandes will dictate play. This is something that I looked into like a couple seasons back, 2 seasons back actually, I think, where I looked at like talisman, as I call them, like Fernandes is, compared to someone who's a focal point of an attack, like someone that you're trying to get to as fast as possible. Like Haaland would be an ideal example of a focal point, just someone that is there to score the chances, like he's the one that you're going to feed the chances to. And Fernandes is more like a talisman who's involved in everything in terms of the attacking play, and I think this game suits better the second option, like a talisman type of player. So Fernandes against Nottingham Forest, I think he has a really good ceiling there, but I do think Mbeumo is still a pretty decent pick. But Nottingham Forest are no slouches either. Like they are pretty good defensively under Sean Dyche, so I think Fernandes is the safer option with penalties as well. That could be what decides this game for Man United, and Fernandes is the penalty taker still for that team. Ismail Sarr, another player who's going to be really popular, especially after he scored 2 goals against Liverpool in the Cup midweek. He's just in tremendous form. I still think he's actually, like, thinking back on it, I think he's still my favorite Palace asset, but I do really like all 3. Munoz, Sarr, and Mateta. I appreciate all 3 so much as FPL assets currently, but Sarr has been the best player so far, I think, in terms of just being clinical. Compared to Mateta, he's not going to get as many chances, but he's going to get a lot of chances, and he's going to convert them better than Mateta so far. He has done, at least in this season. I've once again gone with Mateta as my free hit pick up front, or one of my free hit picks up front at least. Against West Ham, I think this is just a game that is really well suited for him. West Ham conceded in every game. They're just a pretty bad team in general. Mateta is also super tall. He can score from set pieces. He can score from open play. And he's been pretty lethal so far for Newcastle, getting at least 1 big chance per game, it seems like, these last few game weeks. Mateta is also someone that I would really like to have for Game Week 10. He's just someone that gets so many chances, and Brentford are, although they are improving, they have conceded quite a few goals this season. They seem to score a goal and seem to concede a goal every single game, pretty much. And I think this could be a pretty high-scoring affair. I did predict a 3-2 win for Palace in the FPL Score podcast yesterday. So yeah, I think that could be the case there as well. I think Mateta could get a lot of chances, so I do think he's a really nice asset to have for Game Week 10 already, and especially beyond that as well. But this is a free hit draft, so we're looking at Game Week 10 only, and Mateta is a really good option there up front. I still have Haaland captain. I do have some questions about it. I wouldn't be too opposed to anyone going for Saka or Gabriel or someone like that from Arsenal. But Haaland is just a really good player, and you would expect Man City to sort of strike back after a bit of a disappointing result against Aston Villa this past game week. They're also playing at home at the Etihad, and I think they could get at Bournemouth, but I think it's going to be an interesting game. I actually predicted the 1-1 draw here, and the goal from City would most likely be Haaland, because their second top scorer so far this season is Estev with 2 own goals against them for Burnley. So that tells you something about where the goal share is for Man City. It's just Haaland or no one, basically. So yeah, I think it's still a good captaincy option. They could still win this game like 3-4-0. Man City have that quality up front, or like attacking wise in general. So Haaland is still my captaincy choice, but it's a discussion. Like, I'm still going to consider potentially Gabriel as my captain, but most likely just going to go with Haaland because I think he's going to strike back. On the bench, I should say, I have Dubravka as the backup goalkeeper just because he's the cheapest possible starting goalkeeper, so I wanted to save money, and I think Lammens is going to play anyway, so it doesn't really matter who I have as backup goalkeeper. I'll go with Michael Keane for Everton against Sunderland. I did say that I don't want to target Sunderland too much, but I think Keane is just a good mixture of clean sheet potential, goal potential from set pieces, and also DEFCON potential for Michael Keane. Like, he's a pretty good player for that price of 4.5 in case someone doesn't play in the starting lineup. The 2 final bench players are just really cheap players. Josh King for Fulham. He didn't play in the last league game from start, at least. He came on with like 20 minutes left to go. And then he scored in the cup game, so maybe he'll be back. Or I think he's actually going to be back in the lineup because Smith Rowe got injured again, as always. So King's going to probably be back in the lineup. Maybe he'll actually get more minutes, so he could actually be like a decent option, but he's also just second bench. And just a cheap player to fill up the squad, basically. And the same could be said for Andy Irving. I just wanted to highlight him because he started the last 2 games for West Ham. I don't think he'll start another game for West Ham ever, most likely. But I think it's just like interesting to highlight that he hasn't played. Like, he came from Austrian, like a team that's currently in the Austrian second division. Like, I don't know how he became a starter for West Ham, so I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. No disrespect to Andy Irving, I'm sure he's a nice guy and everything. He is doing the best that he can, and I think we shouldn't really give stick to anyone who tries their best. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that West Ham probably shouldn't start him, despite him being like a member of the West Ham squad, I guess. Anyways, when it comes to alternatives, I think Ekitike is someone that I was considering pretty highly, but I think also Aston Villa is a pretty good team currently. They're pretty good defensively, so I've gone against them. There's also that looming thing about Isak potentially being back to play some minutes here. Ekitike, even when Isak wasn't a Liverpool player, he still got subbed off after like 70 minutes, so he's not even the best minutes play, and it's not the best fixture, but he has really high upside because Liverpool created a lot of chances, and he's most likely going to be the starting striker for them. Semenyo as well. Kind of feels bad leaving him out of the team. He scored twice at Anfield against Liverpool, so he could easily score points in this game as well. He always seems to find a way to get points, which I always say about him. So it feels a bit iffy to leave him out. It might just be better to go with him rather than someone like Malik Chow, for example, and go with 4 midfielders. But Man City away, it's not an easy fixture. Donnarumma is a pretty good goalkeeper, pretty tough to beat, but Semenyo could do it potentially. But yeah, he's someone that you could select, but I don't think it's essential, but I'm pretty happy to have him in my own team, at least. Also in defense, Cucurella, Spurs away, not the best fixture, but Cucurella is just looking so good, so attacking currently in FPL, so I think he's going to come good at some point. Could happen against Spurs, but I'm not confident enough to have him in the free hit squad, but he's a good alternative if you have a lot of money in the bank for another defender, so he's also someone that I would lift up as a potential alternative in the free hit draft for Game Week 10. And that's pretty much the free hit draft for this game week. Let's now look at my current team and see how that compares. I also have the main thing for my team, actually, because I have 2 Palace players already in Richards and Sarr. And originally, what I was looking at for this game week with 0.9 funds, or 0.9 million in the bank, I should say, I was looking at potentially doing Bowen to Mateta, and that would be enough money for me to go from Richards to Munoz. But now, since I didn't do that move immediately, because I was worried a little bit because Palace were having that game against, or were going to have that game against Liverpool in midweek, I was kind of worried that there would be some injuries and I would waste 2 transfers and do a -4 hit and then still have not the ideal team. So I waited and hoped that, I don't know, I waited at least. I didn't want to take that risk, but now actually Richards is a bit of a doubt. I think he's been cleared for the game, so I think he's still going to start this game. But I would feel so much more confident if I had Mateta and Munoz at this point than Richards and not Mateta still. But I'm still looking to do that transfer. I have also thought about potentially just waiting another game week because Brentford are looking a bit better now. Maybe I can wait another game week and sell Gyökeres next game week rather than selling Bowen this game week. But I don't know. I feel like I just need Mateta in this team. I feel like I need to be confident, or feel like I need to have both him and Sarr, because usually in FPL for me, whenever I have a midfielder from Palace, Mateta goes wild and scores a lot of goals. And whenever I have Mateta, the midfielder goes wild and scores a lot of goals. That happened early season. I had Mateta for the first 5 game weeks of the season. He didn't really get much points for me at all. And Sarr just kept banging in the goals left, right, and center. And then last time when I brought in Sarr, Mateta was on getting a hat-trick. So that always happens with me and the Palace players. So now I want to just cover all my bases and have Mateta on top of everything else. But selling Bowen, of course, it makes sense against Newcastle, but he has also Burnley at home in Game Week 11. That's why I want to ideally keep him for that game week and then move him on to someone like Igor Thiago from Game Week 12. But I think I just have to go from him to Mateta because I don't really see any viable options to get another Arsenal player. Ideally, I would do Gyökeres to Mateta and then get another Arsenal player somewhere else, but I already have the 2 best defenders, I think, in Gabriel and Timber. I don't want Raya. I don't think he's high upside enough, especially if Arsenal get that double game week, which I'm going to talk about pretty soon as well. And Saka is just too expensive to get unless I sell someone like Mbeumo or potentially even Enzo, but I want to keep them a bit longer now. So I don't see any immediate route to Saka either if I sell Gyökeres. So yeah, that's a bit of the downside for my team. Even I don't think I would, with 0.9 in the bank, I wouldn't even be able to do Enzo to Saka. I'm not even sure I could do, well, of course, if I do Gyökeres to Mateta, I would have enough money for Mbeumo at least. But anyways, that's beside the point. I'm not going to do those transfers because I want to keep Mbeumo and Enzo and Semenyo for that matter. And Sarr. Those guys are all really good picks, I think, in general. King, just on the bench. Anyways. So yeah, I think my current option is just either doing Bowen to Mateta or just standing pat and doing nothing, and yeah, just waiting another game week and seeing if I can bring in Mateta for Gyökeres next game week and have 2 free transfers and reallocate the funds. I could do that as well, but currently I just really want Mateta for Game Week 10, and I'm leaning towards doing Bowen to Mateta, even though it's going to lead to me not having Bowen against Burnley at home, which would be a good thing because Bowen has just been really good in general this season. I think he's like the 3rd highest or 4th highest scoring forward so far this season. He's been pretty good to me in general, and one of my best decisions so far this season was keeping him when it looked like I should have sold him in Game Week 5, when Enzo Fernandez was like the hot new guy that everyone brought in. But since then, Bowen has gotten a lot of points, and Joe Pedro has just blanked every single game week, and now people are selling Joe Pedro to Mateta. So, yeah, I don't know. But for me, I think Mateta is just too good of an option. He gets so many chances. He plays for a really good team. It is like a bit of a, I guess, like a worry, the fact that he gets so many minutes, and this can lead into like the potential blank or double situation now, because Palace went through in the Carling Cup or the League Cup or whatever they call it now, Carabao Cup even. And that means that they will get a lot of matches very congested. Originally, people said that that would mean that they would get some matches postponed or delayed or whatever, or moved forward. Originally, people said that their match could be moved forward to Game Week 16. That doesn't seem to be the case, even for their opponents in Game Week 17 who are blanking. It doesn't seem like they're going to blank in Game Week 17 now. It doesn't seem like Game Week 17 is going to be a blank at all, which could change my plans in general. But anyways, when it looked like there was going to be a change there, I wasn't too sure. Or anyways, that's not the point. With the fixture congestion, because they're going to have a lot of matches in that Palace, and Mateta's going to have to play pretty much every single match because Nketiah now got injured. People are saying that that's a win for Mateta, but I think that's a loss, because I think in these games, like outside of the Premier League, outside of FPL, now Mateta will have to play more minutes in those games rather than Nketiah playing in those games. So I think that will actually like be a detriment to Mateta long term at least. So yeah, I'm not sure about his long-term potential. I think I'm going to try to sell Palace players in Game Week 16 anyways, especially if they don't get a double game week. If they do get a double game week somehow, of course I would keep them for Game Week 16. But Game Week 17 is going to be a blank, or it's going to be a tough fixture. So yeah, I think he's not like a long-term pick, but I think he's like a really good asset for like the next 5 or 6 game week. And I think that's the same case for pretty much all the Palace players. And that's why I'm looking at wildcarding in Game Week 17 actually, which could be a blank game week, but either way, it's going to be a game week where Arsenal start a pretty tough fixture run. So I think that's my current wildcard plans now. Delay it all the way until game week 17. Well, I'm going to have 5 transfers in the bank as well, and I'll just have a super good team for game week 18 and beyond, or game week 17 and beyond, and with 5 transfers in hand as well to do whatever changes I see fit, basically, which I can hopefully save for later in the season when I'm going to need as many transfers as possible to bring in double game week players and avoid blank game week players eventually this season. So yeah. But anyways, those are my plans for the transfers. When it comes to the rest of my team, I have Cells in goal. Not ideal, but at the same time, I don't really care too much about goalkeepers. I say this every single week. Hopefully for me, even though I did advise you guys to get Fernandez in the free hit team, there could be a penalty for Man United, and Fernandez could miss again. Could be a save from Cells. That could be my way out of it, but I think Man United will score regardless in this game. So don't really have too much high hopes for Cells, but it's better than Dubravka against Arsenal at least. Timber and Gabriel in defense, that's really good. Richards, I think he's going to be fine against Brentford at home, so that's why I'm not too worried about him compared to Munoz, but I would ideally want to have Munoz and Mateta for Bowen, and also a -4 in that regard. But yeah, pretty happy with Richards. If he gets a clean sheet, that's decent points. He doesn't have the attacking threat that Munoz has, but yeah, he's also cheaper, so that also helps me in a way. In midfield, Semenyo against City, I think he's a good option, like I mentioned. And Buemo, or even, like I mentioned, Fernandez against Nottingham Forest, I think those two are good options. Enzo against Spurs is not ideal, but I think also this, like, it's a London derby, anything can happen. Sarr, I also already had in the free hit team, of course. Same goes for Haaland as captain, talked about that already. Gyökeres, I think, is an interesting case. Like, I think regardless, I'm going to sell him around game week 12, 13, probably, because I want to have Saka as the ideal Arsenal pick for potentially that double game week in game week 16 if Arsenal get that. And I would want to move away from Gyökeres anyway. I think it's just too expensive for a striker that doesn't really do much so far this season. But he could prove me wrong. This is his final chance to prove that he is worth keeping. I could want to keep him longer if he does really well in this next upcoming game week, but we'll see. Burnley is a game where he could finally get it going. I think he is a really good striker, but he's going to have to prove it at some point now in FPL. Bowen, sadly, I think I need to sell him now to get Mateta, but I might still do the second option and just stand pat, have Bowen against Newcastle, which it's not the ideal game, but it's not the worst either. We've seen West Ham in the past be in terrible form and beating Newcastle like that has happened in the past. I think last season even. So it could be good for that game, and if that's the case, I can keep him for game week 11 as well, where I can just sell Gyökeres potentially to get Mateta instead and have Bowen at home to Burnley, which would be a really nice player to have. But most likely, I'm going to sell Bowen at this point. On the bench, Dubravka and King, just cheap fodder, really. Juve, in case Richards doesn't play, I get Juve against Newcastle at home. Again, not ideal, but he's at least attacking. That's the best thing I can say about him at this current rate for West Ham. But yeah, final bench player is Senesi. He's most likely going to get DEFCON points, so maybe he is like a higher upside player than Juve. Maybe I should have him as the second bench, like the first guy off the bench in case Richards doesn't play. But I do think Bournemouth will also be likely to concede in this game, so I'm not sure if that's a nice player to have as a starter. But he could surprise me. He gets goals and assists sometimes. He can get a clean sheet. We just saw Konsa for Aston Villa get a clean sheet and DEFCON points against Man City, and he never gets DEFCON points, and Senesi always gets DEFCON points. So I think he has like a decent floor. At least he'll get 2 points, even if Man City score 4 goals in this game. He could get the 2 points just from the DEFCON points in total. So I might put him second bench. But now we're getting into very much like the minutia of things for my plans for game week 10. But this is my team. I'm looking at Bowen to Mateta most likely. I might be patient again and save my chances, but I think Mateta is just too good of an option to ignore at this point. So most likely going to bring him in for Bowen at this current rate. But yeah, that is it for this video. 26 minutes of FPL goodness, hopefully for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got some information from this video that will be useful for you. Like the video if you did like the video, and subscribe if you like the channel, or if you've seen a couple of my videos and you haven't subscribed already. I think that would be nice as well, if you would subscribe, of course. And then comment down below if you have any questions or any comments, criticism, praise, whatever it is. As long as it's constructive, I enjoy it. And if it isn't constructive, I kind of enjoy that as well. I don't really mind. So yeah, send me any comments that you have down below. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.